Hi there, graded students. My name is Teacher JB, and here we are again with our second session. Today, we're going to be talking about reading skills. To be specific, our topic is analyze word choice and tone. So I hope that you have your literary companion with you right now and a pen. And please turn your book on page 200 as we start. Our learning objectives for today is pretty simple. First, we have objective number one, which is to understand how Nelson Mandela chooses his words carefully. And number two is to analyze the tone of the author. Alright, so since you have your books open on page 200, let us start first knowing what word choice and tone are. So first, we all know that writers choose words carefully to convey meaning and tone. And it's very, very important for writers to have that kind of ability to at least share and express what they really wanted to tell to their readers. As you also know, tone is the writer's attitude towards his or her subject or audience. Nelson Mandela's inauguration speech conveys meaning and tone using both positive and negative words. His overall tone, though, is positive, but there are some negative words that Nelson Mandela used in his speech. Let us try to find them. For this example, that spiritual and physical oneness we all share with this common homeland explains the depth of the pain we all carried in our hearts as we saw our country tear itself apart in terrible conflict, and as we saw it spurred, outlawed, and isolated by peoples of the world, precisely because it has become the universal base of the pernicious ideology and the practice of racism and racial oppression. As you all notice, we have here some negative words, and you see some negative words that Nelson Mandela used in his excerpt. So we have pain, terrible, conflict, spurned, outlawed, isolated, pernicious, racism, and oppression. Why would Nelson Mandela use negative words in a speech that should talk about positivity? Well, basically, Mandela uses negative words to convey his strong feelings about South Africa's history of segregation and racial discrimination. So let's try another one. Let's have another example. So, example two. Our daily deeds as ordinary South Africans must produce an actual South African reality that will reinforce humanity's belief in justice, strengthens its confidence in the nobility of the human soul, and sustain all our hopes for a glorious life for all. So, as you notice in this example number two, Nelson Mandela used positive words to emphasize something and to express a meaningful message. What are those positive words? These are the positive words that you can see from the excerpt. We have reinforce, belief, justice, strengthen, confidence, nobility, sustain, hopes, and glorious. But why would he use such words? Mandela uses positive words to convey a hopeful tone for South Africa's future. So I think that you're ready for a practice. Let us enhance and sharpen those minds as we try to analyze the word choices and the tone of some passages here in your book. Can you turn your book on page 201? And let's start now. Practice and apply. Analyze word choice and tone. Number one. Read this excerpt from Mandela's address, Glory of Hope. Then complete a chart to identify Mandela's use of positive and negative words. Excerpt. Never, never, and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another and suffering the indignity of being the skunk of the world. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. What are the positive and the negative words that you notice from the excerpt? Write it now. So as you notice, some of the positive words that you see are beautiful, sun, glorious, and human achievement. On the other hand, we have some negative words such as depression, suffer, indignity, and skunk. Now, knowing that we have this excerpt and we see the difference between the positive and the negative words that he used, let's try to identify a negative word that Mandela uses in a positive way. That's right, it's never. So as you notice in the beginning, it's a negative word based on its denotation, but it was used positively to show that it will never happen again. Number three, how is Mandela able to maintain a positive tone throughout the speech despite his use of so many negative words? What do you think? Well, Mandela basically uses negative words to describe South Africa's past, and he's using the positive words to describe South Africa's future. So that still maintains the positive tone of the whole speech because it weighs in and it balances the amount of negative words is to the positive words. So they have their own purpose as well. Let's move on to number four. If a leader gave a speech in which he or she chose positive words to describe the past and negative words to describe the future, what tone do you think the speech might have? Explain your answer. I think the speech would have a depressing or hopeless tone. It's because the leader would convey that the future is not as positive as it should be. Number five, I want to challenge you in this one. Write a short paragraph about your own future that is similar in tone to Nelson Mandela's speech. Use both positive and negative words. Good luck. Well done. How are you doing so far? Shall we move on to the next one? Alright, so the next reading skill that we are about to discuss is analyze author's purpose. And our learning objectives are pretty simple. First is to know the types of writing in each author's purpose. And two is to analyze the purpose of the author in each excerpt. Well, if you turn your literary companion on page 202, you'll be seeing the lesson that we're about to take. So we all know that in each written text there should be a specific purpose, and we all know that the author's purpose is the reason for writing the text. There are three most common purposes of the author's writing text. We have to persuade, to inform, and to entertain. An author will use different types of writing to help achieve his purpose. And in order for us to first is to persuade. Well, in written text, in a persuasive text, and we may persuade using facts, reasons, statistics, and persuasive language. While in descriptive text, we use details to influence readers. As to inform, in expository texts, of course, we show facts, details, examples, and step-by-step instructions. And we can also inform in a descriptive text using precise details. Lastly is to entertain, and in a narrative, we entertain using vivid characters and exciting plots. In an expository text, we use fascinating facts. And in a descriptive text, we can have like a funny or suspenseful or even compelling details. So let's dig deeper to some samples from Mandela's speech and let's try to understand and analyze the purpose of the author here. So let's have the first one. Example one. We trust that you will continue to stand by us as we tackle the challenges of building peace, prosperity, non sexism, and non racialism, and even democracy. So, as you notice in example one, the purpose of Nelson Mandela is to persuade his audience to unite and strive toward a common goal. This is an example of a persuasive writing. Let's move on to example number two. As a token of its commitment to the renewal of our country, the new interim government of national unity will, as a matter of urgency, address the issue of amnesty for various categories of our people who are currently serving terms of imprisonment. As you notice in example 2, he used expository writing to inform his audience. So both purposes and the type of writing kind of overlap, depends on what is the intention of the author. So let's try a little bit of a practice here and let's answer your classworks. Let's have practice and apply, analyze author's purpose. So number one, read these excerpts from Mandela's address, then complete a graphic organizer by identifying the type of writing the excerpt demonstrates. A. We must therefore act together as a united people for national reconciliation, for nation building, for the birth of a new world. Is it persuasive, descriptive, or expository? That is persuasive. Let's move on to B. We are moved by a sense of joy and exhilaration when the grass turns green and the flowers bloom. Is it persuasive, narrative, or descriptive? Definitely it is descriptive. C. We deeply appreciate the role that the masses of our people and their leaders have played to bring our conclusion. Not least among them is my second Deputy President, the Honorable F.W. de Klerk. So do you think this is a persuasive, a narrative, or an expository text? It is indeed an expository text. Now let's talk about Nelson Mandela's specific purpose in writing his inaugural address. What do you think Nelson Mandela's specific main purpose in writing his inaugural address? Give reasons or examples from the text to support your answer. I think Mandela wanted to persuade his audience to unite and support his presidency. He used the words we, us, and most throughout the address, building a feeling of unity and creating a sense of urgency. Great job, you finished your seat works. In summary, we have discussed two reading skills. We know that tone is the writer's attitude towards his or her audience. We also have learned that author's purpose is his or her reason of writing a text. And we know that Nelson Mandela's purpose of speech is to persuade his fellow Africans into hoping for a brighter future. I hope that you learned a lot today, and I shall see you next lesson. I have to go inside because my next class is waiting for me. See ya and bye.